Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I'm coming at you with another Wargaming and miniature video. In this video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be painting this Nolzur's miniatures for Dungeons & Dragons. It is a Griffon. We're going to be painting this Griffon model. I've glued it to the base, and I'm waiting for the glue to dry, as you can see there. As soon as the glue dries, I'm going to go ahead and prime it black because I prefer to prime black. And we'll be right back once I get it primed. Alright guys, we are back after we primed the Griffon black, but because of the nature of like wings and large models and the way you spray it, you don't always get a good spray on the bottom, okay, underneath arms and legs and behind capes and things like that. So what I do is I mix up a little acrylic and water, and I'm going to go in and brush in any spots that I might have missed to guarantee 100% a black undercoat. Alright, when I get this completely painted, I'll be right back. Alright, we're continuing on with the Griffon model, and what I'm going to do is just reach inside and paint the inside of the beak red. There's a tongue in there, there's a beak, and it's all inside is going to be red, the inside of the mouth. And then it doesn't matter if I overpaint, because when I go back in to touch up the beak and the mouth and the feathers, it will cover any of the overpainting that I've done on the Griffon. All right, when that's dry, we'll be right back. All right, guys, back to the Griffon, right? Now, the Griffon has a lion for its tail features. So what I'm going to use is I know it should be called lion, but no, it's called camel hair or just camel folk art. It's a really light tan. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint, I think it looks good for a lion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the aft quarters, or hind quarters, I guess is what you would call it. Aft. I don't know what I was thinking. Hind quarters of this Griffon, which is a lion body and tail with the camel, and I'm just going to coat it on here nice and smooth. It might take 2 coats, but let's get it on. Let's get it on. I don't want to do a 100% coat on the little tail fur there because I want the shadowing to still shine through that. But like the muscles of the legs, I definitely want to smooth that out. It looks like that lion body goes all the way up to about the chest, actually. It's kind of what it looks like. And it's okay if I get it on the ground. Again, I'm going to be repainting the ground, the little rock and the base and everything, different colors, so it can overpaint that. Oh, rib cage. You got to get into the rib cage there. Adjust my point of attack. Angle of attack, I guess is what they call it, when you, depending on how your brush is facing this way or that way or this way. That's called angle of attack. So just gotta adjust my brush's angle of attack to make sure I get the entire model. Okay, so we got the start of the Griffon, we got the lion hindquarters. Okay, we're going to let that dry and we'll be back with it. All right, and so while I'm working on it, I'm just going to go ahead and do it now. I'm going to go ahead and hit the base with a splinter of blotches. It's watered down, and I'm using a giant brush because you want to use the right brush for the job. Now, even though this Griffon is standing on what appears to be a rock, I'm not painting it as a rock. I'm just painting the whole thing green. I might go back later and paint it as a rock. I probably will. That's good. Let that dry. We'll be on to the next step. Now, I did pull out an actual D&D model. This is Griffon 3245. That set, I don't remember which set it was, but I'm going to take a lot of inspiration from this because this is a Griffon. And you can see I've already done the lion body and I've done the inside of the mouth red on this figure. But what I'm going to do is the majority of the model is the wings, right, and the upper body, the feathers basically, under the jawline and up to the where the talons are. That's all a brown, and I'm going to use nutmeg, but I'm not going to leave it just nutmeg. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dry brush on top of that very lightly some goose feather just to highlight or to bring the feathers out. And I want it to be a lot lighter than this. There's a lot of historical, I guess mythological pictures of griffins, paintings, and things like that, and some of them have lighter wings, like almost white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use just a little bit of goose feather to bring it out. And let's go ahead and do that real quick. I'm using apple barrel nutmeg for the main brown color. And and it's not watered down. It's just pure. And I'm just going to paint all the feathers right up to the edge of where the lion begins. Now the head, as you can see on this one, it's like an eagle, so it's mostly white. All that means is what I'm going to do is probably use more goose feather on the top. It might have to be a lighter than that, but we'll see. Now on this model, right along the edge there, the feathers blend in with the skin, so you just have to use patience when painting right along in here and just make it a good, nice straight line. And I might have to go back in there and do a black line just to disguise the fact that it transitions. When I say that, I mean what it's doing is they touch and there's no indication of separation. So you have to make that with paint or ink. Now, it's okay if a little bit of the black shines through underneath. That's perfectly fine. I want less of that than normal because I'm going to goose feather highlight it. But it's okay to have a 3-color transition. Black to brown feathers to light tan highlights. So it's good to have the 3 colors. All right. Just continue on painting this. Okay, and we're going to do under the wings. Same color, same technique. Okay, so I think the wings are done. Now the feathers go down to the talons right about there on the claws, on the arms. And the chest would be brown. And it looks like, based on that, it goes up to the under the beak. So I gotta paint brown up to under the beak. Okay, good. You gotta rotate the model, don't forget to do that. Now I'm looking under the belly of this lion, and I'm seeing some feathers here, so we're going to paint the feathers. Might have to come at it from a different angle. And it's okay if I get it on the talons too. I haven't, but if I did, it's okay because I still have to paint the talons. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let that sit for a minute and then make a determination if I need to do a second coat. Okay, we're going to let that dry. There's another point I just wanted to make about the Griffon. It's almost dry, so and I'm going to go ahead and do a second coat on this. But before I do that, I want to show you the disparity in size. This is an actual D&D model I showed earlier, and this is the Nolzur's. And you can see, like, the wing, you can see how much bigger this model is, right? Yeah, this is like the big daddy. Or this is the dad, and this is the mom. I don't know how it works in. But okay, here we go. So let's do a second coat. I didn't like the way the black was shining through. The second coat is going to make it more of a nutmeg color. And it also, with the paint in the palette, while I was waiting that 15 minutes or so, the paint in the palette had slightly dried as well and thickened up. So it's just going to be better overall, in my opinion. All right, see what that makes a difference? Okay, well, let this dry and we're going to come on back to it. All right, now before we start doing the dry brushing, because the wings aren't really exactly dry yet, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and paint the white of the eagle, you know, the bald part of the eagle, and I'm going to paint it antique white. I'm not painting it pure white. I want it to have a little off-white color. Right, so here we go. Off-white eagle feathers. And I'm painting it up to and a little bit over the brown, as if the feathers would lay on top of the brown feathers underneath. And up to the beak. And I'm using a backwards motion because that's the direction the feathers lay. Just like that. See that off-white still looks very white. fix that a little bit because there was some black shining through I didn't like. Okay, that's all it was, just that. All right, we're going to move on to another color while we wait for this. This section right in here is what I'm really waiting for to dry. You can see how it's kind of still shiny. And the underside looks like right in there. Still too shiny. Okay, so we're going to let that continue to dry, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the talons. Be right back. All right, now again, using this as the default model, I see that these talons and the beak are pretty close to the same color. And what I'm going to use is this golden ochre. It's not a yellow, it's not a brown, it's kind of a mixture. Okay, so I'm going to paint the flesh of the talons, not the actual claws themselves. Those are going to be black. I'm going to paint them black because I'm sure I'm going to mess up. Yeah, I've already messed up. I've already gone down on this one claw here. But the flesh of the talons is going to be the yellow ochre. This is watered down folk art, so, and I might have put a little bit too much water. I think I did. So it looks like what I'm going to need to do then is do a second coat. That's okay, I've been doing that all day. Second coating it. Yeah, the talons are going to need a second coat. I'm going to let that dry and we'll get back to that. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the beak. Now the beak, what I'm trying to do is not get into the mouth because I want the mouth to stay red. But I want the beak to be yellow ochre. You notice I'm using a giant brush for this? Okay, that beak looks good. Okay, we got the beak. Looking good. We got the claws. Look like they need a second coat. You can kind of see it already. Let's kind of thin this out. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use the goose feather that I promised, and we're going to use that to dry brush. Now, it's going to be a super light, it's like a dusting really. I'm not even going to put, I just want to make sure that you can see all the feathers. So I'm going to use my stiff bristle brush. It's a wide square brush, half-inch square. Put some paint onto the brush, right? And then I'm going to brush some of it off onto my paper towel, and then we're going to dry brush. And I'm going to, I don't know where I want to start. Okay, I think that's too much. So I'm going to take some more off on the, yeah, I think that was too much on the feathers. There we go, that's much better. They always tell you, don't overdo it. Make sure you underdo it, right? You always need to underdo it. Dry brushing is best when done in multiple layers. You don't ever want to cake it on like that. All right, see how that brings out the colors in the, or brings out the feathers. You can actually see the stripes or the lines in the feathers now. And don't forget the underside. And don't forget the breast and the under the wings. The chicken legs. The breast. Getting the insides of the legs. The back of the legs. The body. Oh yeah, that's coming out really good. Okay, there you go. So you see the difference in how the feathers look. This is just pure brown, right? Where this has got the goose feather highlight on it. And you can kind of tell yeah, you'll be able to really tell when I do my close-up at the end. Okay. Now, I did this off camera. I went ahead and already did a second coat of the golden ochre. So that's already finished. Okay, now there's a couple of things we're going to use pure black. Just pure black on. And that's the talons. Right, we're going to use, we want the talons to look dangerous. On the upper and lower talons. now is the time to fix any errors in your golden ochre or even in the green that might have gotten onto your talons, which I noticed there was some. Okay, these talons look really deadly. All right, now I'm also going to put on the lion's claws on the back, those need to be black as well. The lion's claws. Yeah, you don't want to forget the back. Okay, so you got a front and back are black. Now, let me clean my brush. Okay, I'm going to come in with a much smaller brush, and I'm going to use that same black, and I'm going to put it in the eyes. You can see the eagle eyes are right there, and I'm just going to draw like a dot. It might or might not be too big. Or it might be just right, actually. Dang. Okay. And then I want to draw his left eye as well. Yeah, that looks really, really good. All right, and that is it on the All right, the next color we're going to use is Boulder. And what I'm going to use it for is the boulder that he's standing on. Let's get a brush that's big, but not too big. Same one I've been using on everything else. Now I'm going to avoid the talons. I'm just basically getting the big rocky parts first, and then I'll paint around the edges. It's kind of like when you're building a puzzle, you know, you put together all the parts that you know go together, and then you look for all the parts to finish the project. So what I'm doing is I'm painting everything that's not close to anything else. And then I'll go back and fill in the gaps. And you could always throw a little bit of grass on it, a little flock, put a little lichen on this, or you know, bushes or whatever you want, however you want to do your base. But this video is not about basing the model. This video is about painting the actual model itself. I'm going to let this dry a little bit, and then I think I'm going to spray it with a clear coat, and then we'll be right back. Alright guys, well here is the finished Griffon. If you haven't noticed, I did take some OD and put it on the base. I didn't like that green, I had to update it. But other than that, take a look at the Griffon, the feathering, the beak and the eyes and the claws and the stonework and the tail and the body and all that good stuff. Alright, so this is the Griffon that I'm going to use in my D&D game. This is also a Griffon. You can kind of see similarities, but I think this body's a little bit too green, you know. But other than that, I think they're both beautiful models. This is a pre-paint from the box sets. And this is the Nolzur's model, and it needed to be painted, but it also is a lot larger, right? And you can see the gaps in between the arms and the wings there. You can only see one gap right there on this Nolzur's model. The rest of the gaps are very well concealed. All right, well, thanks for coming out and checking out this video, and I'll catch you next time.